Hello, world. I am a practicer of magic and I am a born again Christian. Um, I like to read and study within the Apocrypha to sharpen my sword. So I'm going to read an excerpt from King Solomon. And we all know that King Solomon had dominion over jinn and Shetmiel and things like that. So we're going to pick this up at Solomon 17. For your judgments are great and hard to set forth, therefore uninstructed souls went astray. For when lawless men thought they were opposing a holy nation, they lay shut up under their roofs, exiled from the eternal providence, prisoners of darkness and captives of the long night. For when they thought they were hidden in their secret sins by a dark veil of forgetfulness, they were scattered, terribly frightened and appalled by spectres. For even the inner chamber that held them did not protect them from fear, but appalling sounds rung around them, and somber ghosts appeared with gloomy faces. Now, here recently, my home, this home you see behind me, is haunted. It does have spiritual activity, supernatural activity. And no fire was strong enough to succeed in giving them light, nor could the bright flames of the stars undertake to illumine that hateful night. Only there shone on them a fearful flame of itself, and though dreadfully frightened at the sight when it could not be seen, they thought the things they beheld still worse, and the disillusions of magic art were prostrate, and their boasted wisdom suffered a contemptuous rebuke. Excuse me, sober. For those who claimed to drive away fears and troubles from sick souls were sick themselves with ridiculous fear. For if nothing alarming frightened them, yet scared by the creeping of vermin and the hissing of reptiles, they died of fright, refusing to look even upon the air which could not be escaped on any side. For wickedness is a cowardly thing, condemned by a witness of its own, and being distressed by conscience. That is my mission here. That's my move, is to help elevate people to a higher state of consciousness to where they realize the devil's not attacking you and God does not punish you. Okay? Your creator loves you unconditionally. You can do no wrong in his eye. Alright? And I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove it. For wickedness is a cowardly thing, condemned by a witness of its own, and being distressed by conscience has always exaggerated hardships. And being distressed by. For wickedness is a cowardly thing, condemned by a witness of its own, and being distressed by conscience has always exaggerated hardships. That's a mouthful. That's probably why I skipped up on that. Distressed by conscience, that means we just overthink everything. And we try and figure things out and try to rationalize God's thoughts. It ain't happening, folks. Not on any scale. That man is so far ahead of us, it is ridiculous. Even if you're at the end, he's already around you because he knows what you're doing right now and what you're going to be doing right now. All we have is the now, and he knows what you're going to be doing right now. Just saying. For fear is nothing but the giving up of the reinforcements that come from reason. And as the expectation of them from within is deficient, it reckons its ignorance worse than the cause of the torment. Dang. So they realized that their ignorance was worse than the cause of the torment. How foolish can we be? And I'll say that openly. I can't hide anything on these. If I'm doing this right now, I can't hide anything. It reckons its ignorance worse than the cause of the torment. So I'm the problem. My ignorance. So I'm not even following through with what I tried to set up because I'm realizing that my ignorance is worse than the cause of the torment. Which means there's no justification. How can anything be rational if it's not justified? But they, all through the night, which was really powerless, had came upon them from the recesses of a powerless Hades. So they were not in danger. They were not in harm. They were not in harm's way that night. God protected them. God protected them. Even though nor could the bright flames of the stars undertake to illumine that hateful night, God still protected them. They had the Comforter with them that night, I do believe. That's what would be there with me. I can say that. Sleeping the same sleep, were now driven by monstrous phantoms, and now paralyzed by their souls' surrender. For they were drenched in sudden, unlooked for fear. Then whoever was there fell down, and so was shut up the garden, so was shut up and guarded in a prison not made of iron. Okay, so not made of iron. For whether a man was a farmer or a shepherd, or a laborer whose work was in the wilderness. So that would be like a rogue, renegade, rebel guy. You're out there carving your path. You're fighting demons. You're fighting women. You're trying to figure yourself out. You think God's left you. You're on drugs. I'm a recovering addict. I do hallucinogens and smoke weed. But here lately, every time I do hallucinogens, there's a voice in my head that reminds me I'm going to die. And I know I'm going to die, I just don't know when. And he tries to convince me that he knows when I'm going to die. And they're going to find me in his bathroom. And you know how much that hurts me, knowing how much love I have for all the beings out there that God created. That's why I play. That's why I'm trying to help in any way I can. And I'm trying to get balance within myself. This is a good session. Sleeping, but they, all through the night, which was really powerless, and came upon them from a recess of a powerless Hades, but it did come up from Hades. Sleeping in the same sleep, so they saw it, were now driven by monstrous phantoms and now paralyzed by their soul's surrender. For they were drenched in sudden unlooked for fear. Then whoever was there fell down, and so was shut up and guarded in a prison not made of iron. For whether a man was a farmer or a shepherd, or a laborer whose work was in a wilderness, he was overtaken and suffered the unavoidable fate, for they were all bound with one chain of darkness. See, I just heard knock knock in my house. Well, for they were all bound with one chain of darkness. Whether there was a whistling wind, or a melodious sound of birds in spreading branches, or the irregular noise of rushing water, or a harsh crashing of rocks thrown down, or the unseen running of abounding animals, or the sound of the most savage wild beast roaring, or an echo thrown back from a hollow in the mountains, it paralyzed them with terror, or a knock knock outside the door after I read it. That's how I believe it. It doesn't scare me though. Honestly, it doesn't scare me. So we're 10 minutes in just on the video. I've been open for a while. Welcome. You're open. You're in. And we're surrounded by light. And we're surrounded by archangels. And everything's okay. This just really hits home with certain truths that I live with, you know. We gotta, if I feel, because of what I had to do, but I can't go about it like that. See, I had to reverse all the way back 3 before that, and I lost back there. So I came back to the one closest to that. And realized I can't even go into that conversation. So, yeah. Thank you. For the whole world was bathed in bright light and occupied in unhindered work. Only over them was spread a heavy night, a picture of the darkness that was to receive them. But heavier than the darkness were they to themselves. I now ask earth, wind, fire, and water, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel, representing the north, south, east, and the west, to close this circle out in the light of Jesus Christ, and to bless all the consciousness, the hearts, and the souls, and the minds, and the bodies of everyone here. Touch all the fibers of their beings, and if there's something in them that I put in there that's wrong or mixed up wrong or something like that, Nicholas Adam asking you praise from the depths of his soul that the Lord God of the Almighty, one and only, capital G, capital O, capital D of the Most High will fix that. In Christ's name we praise. Amen. And that's how you do that. Keep it up, y'all. We're making big progress. Thank you for tuning in.